trapped inside a 16-foot crystal monster of your own creation.
Oh man, just the thought of that is terrifying.
Right. And you are, like, fully conscious the whole time.
Completely awake.
Yeah, you can feel the blistering heat of the battlefield radiating right against your skin.
Uh-huh.
And you can see your friends, watching from the sidelines in absolute horror.
Just helpless.
Exactly. You can see this massive volcanic giant winding up to literally shatter your ribs.
And you can't do a thing about it?
Nothing. You are entirely paralyzed. You can't move a single muscle. You can't speak. You can't even blink.
Yeah.
You are basically locked in the passenger seat of your own body while this deeply traumatized, fragmented entity violently takes the wheel.
It's like a nightmare you can't wake up from.
It really is. So welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are dissecting one of the most brutal, expectation-shattering combat sequences we have ever come across.
Oh, absolutely. We've got a stack of sources here detailing a pivotal encounter from a story called The Lock Titan, specifically looking at episode 140, which is titled The Lock.
Right, and it is a heavy one.
Very heavy. And our mission today is to do this highly kinetic narrative read-along.
I love that approach.
Yeah, we're going to walk with you, the listener, through this text scene by scene.
Kind of like reading a thrilling chapter out of a book.
Exactly like that. But we're going to keep hitting the pause button as we go.
And we really have to hit the pause button here.
Why is that?
Because, on a superficial read, this is just an incredible action sequence, right?
Sure, it's a great fight scene.
Yeah, it's a beautifully written fist fight that eventually escalates into this massive clash between giants.
Right.
But if you actually apply a magnifying glass to the mechanics of what the author is doing, there's this whole masterclass in tactical martial arts going on.
Oh, for sure.
Plus some profound psychological warfare.
And hidden supernatural mechanics, too.
Exactly, all happening just beneath the surface of the punches. So we need to unpack the difference between fighting for sport and, fighting for actual survival.
And ultimately analyze the terrifying implications of this newly discovered magic system bond.
Okay, so let's set the stage for you guys. I want you to picture a dusty desert basin.
Very bleak.
Yeah. Harsh, arid, totally unforgiving. The wind is constantly scraping loose sand across solid stone.
The environment itself just feels abrasive.
It does. And standing in the center of this basin, we have two fighters facing off.
Right.
On one side, we have Kaler Voss. And let's talk about his posture first, because it tells you everything you need to know about his mindset.
Oh, his posture is so telling.
Right. Kaler is young, he's a prodigy, and he's cocky.
Very cocky.
The text describes him standing loose, resting on the balls of his feet. His shoulders are completely relaxed, hands open.
He's just vibing.
Exactly. And he has these striking electric magenta eyes with black concentric spirals that are slowly turning in them.
Such a cool visual.
It really is. He looks like a champion who is fully in his element, ready to put on a show for the crowd.
Which stands in just stark contrast to the man standing across from him.
Oh, Warlord Garen Crucible.
Yeah, Warlord Garen Crucible. Garen is not bouncing on his toes.
Definitely not.
He is not loose at all. He is planted.
Like a tree.
Exactly. He is watching Kaler with this heavy, immovable patience.
Right, because he's been through it.
It's the patience of a veteran who has survived enough actual wars to know that motion for the sake of motion is just a waste of energy.
Yeah, save it for when it counts.
Right. And you've got the onlookers gathered at the edge of the basin.
Sleek, Astraeus, Mira, Jet, Cairo, and Lara the medic.
Yeah, they're all watching, and the tension is just palpable.
So thick you could cut it.
And then Sleek drops his hand and simply says, begin.
And for a split second, nobody moves. It's like the opening bell rings,
Yeah.
and they just stare at each other.
Starts icing each other up.
Right. Then Kaler takes the first step, and we launch into what I can really only describe as a high-speed game of physical chess.
That's a great way to put it.
Kaler throws this blindingly fast jab, and Garen doesn't even bother to raise a hand to block it.
He just slips it.
Barely. He just tilts his head a fraction of an inch, and the fist just breezes past his cheek.
Insane precision.
Then Garen answers with a short right hook. Kaler slips fluidly underneath it.
Beautiful technique from both of them.
Yeah, left hand, right hand, low kicks. They are just exchanging these rapid-fire flurries.
But nobody is really committing yet.
Right. Garen checks a kick, grabs Kaler's wrist, and tries to pull him into a close-quarters elbow.
Oh, nasty.
But Kaler twists out of the grip like water before the elbow can even connect.
It is this mesmerizing dance of blocks, slips, checks, and parries.
And neither man is landing a clean, heavy strike.
But what's really fascinating here is the dialogue happening during all of this.
Yeah, they are just chatting the whole time.
No, exactly. The physical strikes are just the backdrop for the psychological probing.
Kaler is throwing out this arrogant trash talk.
He can't help himself.
Right. And Garen calmly notes that Kaler is actually faster than the scouting reports suggested.
And Kaler immediately fires back. You know, the reports are written by people who lost.
So arrogant. Garen points out his lack of modesty, and Kaler just smirks and says, I save modesty for after winning.
Classic Kaler. And Jet, watching from the sidelines, calls this flirting with violence.
Which is such a good line.
It's an incredibly apt description. They are basically testing the perimeter fences of each other's capabilities without actually committing to a breach.
Okay, so let's unpack this flirting with violence concept, because there's a very specific moment where the tone starts to shift.
Oh, absolutely. The stance change.
Yes. Kaler shifts his stance. The text calls it a south foot variation.
Right.
Garen immediately recognizes it and calls it out. Kaler is genuinely surprised by this.
He didn't think anyone would know it.
Right. He asks, you know it. And Garen's response is just, it's bone-chilling.
Yeah, what does he say?
He says, I have killed men who used it.
So good.
But wait, I need some help here because I don't quite understand the martial arts biomechanics at play.
Sure, let's break it down.
Why is a stance called a south foot variation such a massive tell? And how does recognizing it differentiate Garen from Kaler's usual tournament opponents?
That is a fantastic question, and it really gets to the heart of Garen's veteran status.
Okay.
So think about biomechanics for a second. A south foot variation typically involves shifting your center of gravity slightly backward.
So leaning away from the opponent.
Exactly. You weight the rear foot to allow the lead leg to snap up for a quick defensive sweep.
Ah, okay.
But in a regulated tournament, it's a highly inefficient stance.
Because you can't attack well from it.
Right. It sacrifices forward momentum and power just for defensive flexibility. You don't see it in sport fighting because it just doesn't score points effectively.
Oh, I see. So why would Kaler even use it then?
Kaler is likely using it as a stylistic flex.
Just showing off?
Exactly. A bit of showmanship. He's treating it like some obscure chess opening to show off his encyclopedic knowledge of all these styles.
Right, like, look how smart I am.
But Garen didn't learn about this stance in a textbook or at a tournament.
Right.
In a lethal, no-rules battlefield scenario, weighting the back foot is a desperate survival mechanism.
How so?
It's used to quickly pull your lead leg away from a low blade strike that's aiming to sever your femoral artery.
Oh, wow. That is dark.
Yeah, Garen knows this stance because he has fought to the death against men who were desperately trying not to bleed out in the dirt.
Jeez. So when Garen says, I have killed men who used it.
Kaler's smile physically fades.
Yeah, reality check.
He suddenly realizes he is pulling these little parlor tricks on a man who only knows how to perform autopsies.
That makes so much sense now. And you can see Garen actively diagnosing Kaler's psychology after that.
He's downloading all Kaler's data.
Yeah. Kaler tries a high feint. Garen doesn't even react. Kaler tries another feint. Still nothing.
You won't take the bait.
And Kaler actually gets frustrated. He complains, you don't bite.
And Garen just stares at him and replies, I have lived too long.
So badass. And internally, we get this brilliant glimpse into Garen's mind right here.
The conversation with Wrath.
Yes, he is having a conversation with the entity sharing his body, Wrath.
Right, who is basically a titan of pure aggression.
Exactly, and Wrath is just rumbling inside Garen, demanding that they stop holding back and crush the boy.
He just wants to smash him.
But Garen firmly tells Wrath to wait. He notes that this careful observation phase is called learning.
Which brings us to the most crucial tactical breakdown of the first act.
Okay, lay it on me.
Garen completes his mental diagnostic of Kaler and delivers his verdict out loud for him to hear.
Right.
He tells Kaler, this is your problem. You fight people who follow rules, even when the rules do not require them to.
Wow. We really need to pause and chew on the magnitude of that
A
statement.
devastating critique.
Garen is basically telling Kaler that his entire foundation of combat is built on this shared, unspoken social contract.
Exactly. Kaler expects a rhythm.
He expects balance.
If Kaler blocks a punch, he expects his opponent to pull their arm back to reset their guard.
Because that is what trained fighters are taught to do in a gym, right?
They reset, they maintain their form. Kaler fights people who want to defeat him in a contest of skill.
A polite match.
Precisely. Garen, conversely, has spent his entire life fighting men who do not care about form, rhythm, or skill.
We just want him dead.
Yeah, if they can bite his throat out, they will.
So true.
And as soon as Garen articulates this flaw, he physically demonstrates it in the most brutal way possible.
He weaponizes Kaler's own muscle memory against him.
He really does.
I was actually trying to think of an analogy for how Garen disrupts Kaler here.
Let's hear it.
It's like, Kaler is dancing a perfectly choreographed high-speed waltz.
Okay.
He knows exactly where his partner's feet should be on every single beat.
Right, it's all muscle memory.
But Garen doesn't just step on his toes. Garen suddenly puts the entire dance floor on a high-speed treadmill moving in reverse.
Oh, that's good.
Kaler throws a strike. Garen blocks it. But instead of returning his arm to a defensive posture...
Which is the rule Kaler expects.
Exactly. Instead of that, Garen grabs Kaler's blocking arm.
He uses the limb not as a target, but as a handle.
Yes. Garen violently yanks Kaler forward, completely destroying his center of gravity.
Just pulling him totally off balance.
And he pulls Kaler's face directly into a rising elbow.
The biomechanics of that strike are just sickening.
I winced reading it.
Because Kaler's forward momentum, generated by Garen pulling him, multiplies the kinetic force of Garen's elbow moving in the opposite direction.
Well, it's like a head-on car crash.
Exactly. And the text doesn't shy away from the result. It shatters Kaler's nose.
Cartilage crunches. Blood immediately sprays across the stone.
It's a shocking, visceral violation of the pristine sporting match Kaler thought they were having.
Yeah, Garen proves his point instantly. Perfect technique is actually a fatal liability if it relies on your opponent playing along with your rhythm.
So true.
But here's where it gets really interesting. And honestly, this is the moment I fell in love with Kaler as a character.
His reaction is incredible.
Right. How does a pampered prodigy react when his infallible system is violently dismantled and his face is literally broken?
And most fighters would just crumble.
Get panic, or they'd fly into this undisciplined rage because their ego just took a massive hit.
But Kaler doesn't do either of those things.
No. He stumbles back, wipes the blood pouring from his nose, smiles a bloody smile, and simply says, "Then teach me."
It is a terrifying testament to his psychological resilience.
It really is.
He does not view the broken nose as a humiliation. He views it as data.
Data is just raw information.
And his physical adaptation is instantaneous. He entirely abandons his beautiful, clean textbook stance.
He drops his guard slightly, ignores the pain, and begins mimicking Garen's irregular, ugly, broken rhythm movements.
The onlookers are stunned by this. Tessa, watching from the edge, mutters in absolute awe he's learning during the fight.
Which is supposed to be impossible at that level.
Right. And Kaler purposely lets himself take a brutal, bruising body shot just so he can close the distance and land one of his own.
He throws a low sweep, Garen jumps over it, but Kaler is already twisting his momentum, and he lands a clean, cracking punch right on Garen's jaw.
He actually draws blood from Warlord Garen Crucible.
Unbelievable.
Kaler steps back, his magenta eyes burning bright, and just says, "There."
Like he solved the math problem.
Exactly. He'd been searching for a wall he couldn't easily climb, and he just found it.
But by drawing that blood, Kaler inadvertently kicks over a hornet's nest of supernatural proportions.
Yeah, he really crossed a line there. This is the main escalation point of the scene.
So set up for us.
Well, just prior to this exchange, Garen had casually asked Kaler what his Titan form looked like.
Right, just making conversation.
And Kaler had admitted with genuine uncertainty that he didn't know.
Which is wild.
He had never transformed. He was proudly claiming he didn't need a magical Titan form to win his fight.
It's such a flex.
But when Kaler's fist cracks against Garen's jaw, the atmosphere in the basin fundamentally alters.
The temperature actually it rises.
Garen slowly wipes the smear of blood from his lip with his thumb.
Oh, man.
He looks at Kaler and asks, "Did you want that?"
And Kaler, high on adrenaline, says yes.
Garen simply nods and says, "Good."
And then the world seemingly catches fire.
Literally.
The sensory details the author uses for this transformation are incredibly cinematic.
The text describes a visible heat moving right beneath Garen's human skin.
Sleek, the commander on the sidelines, just mutters, "Here we go," bracing himself.
A violent red light spreads through Garen's veins like magma.
His back arches backward, and the ambient temperature spikes so rapidly that the air around him literally distorts.
You get those heat mirages.
Yeah. And then his physical body begins to expand. He doesn't just summon armor around his human form, he actually grows.
10 feet, 12 feet, 14.
He settles at a monstrous 15 feet tall.
The physical manifestation of wrath is deeply tied to his name and his nature.
Right.
It's this massive expansion of power and dominance. Black, jagged volcanic armor bursts outward, fusing right over his expanding musculature.
The imagery is just terrifying. You have these furnace-red cracks tearing across this living obsidian armor.
Glowing like a dying star.
His right arm thickens into this grotesque, asymmetrical battering ram.
Like a massive club of volcanic rock.
A heavy, horned helm fuses seamlessly around his head, and thick, acrid smoke begins rolling steadily out of the mouth opening.
So intimidating.
And then the auditory shift happens.
Oh, the voice?
Yes. When Garen speaks, he doesn't sound human anymore.
The text notes that wrath opens Garen's mouth and they actually speak in unison.
It's a dual-layered frequency. You hear Garen's deep human baritone underneath.
And wrath's seismic rumbling roar layered right over it.
They say, "Now we are warm."
So good. Let's analyze the physics of what Kaler is now facing, though.
Please, because it seems impossible.
Because the disparity is almost comical. Kaler is a highly skilled human, yes, but he still possesses standard human mass and bone density.
He's just a guy.
He is standing barefoot in the dirt in front of a 15-foot-tall siege engine constructed of magically reinforced volcanic rock.
Exactly. Picture trying to fight a dump truck that knows martial arts.
That's a perfect image.
When Wrath swings that massive battering ram arm at Kaler, Kaler dodges, but the fist smashes into the solid stone ground where Kaler was standing a fraction of a second before.
And it instantly shatters the bedrock into a crater.
A crater, and the text explicitly points out the aerodynamic forces at play here, too.
Right, the wind.
When Kaler ducks underneath a massive sweeping hook, he doesn't just avoid the physical impact.
The sheer mass and velocity of that volcanic arm moving through the atmosphere actually creates a vacuum effect.
The displaced air violently tugs at Kaler's hair and clothes.
Just the wind from a missed punch has enough kinetic energy to knock a normal person off balance.
Yet, Kaler's reaction is a short, delighted laugh.
He's crazy.
His obsession with solving the combat puzzle entirely overrides his self-preservation instincts.
Totally.
And honestly, Kaler mounts an unbelievable defense here.
He really does.
He uses his speed to sprint sideways, leaps off a newly broken slab of stone for vertical height, and delivers a spinning kick directly to the side of Garen's horn helm.
And the author notes that the impact of that kick would have flattened a normal man instantly.
The kinetic energy transfer is massive.
But Garen barely turns his head. The mass disparity is simply too great.
He just tanks it.
Garen casually backhands Kaler. Kaler manages to raise both forearms to block it, which saves his skull from being crushed.
Barely.
But the raw, unmitigated kinetic energy of a 15-foot arm striking a human body sends Kaler flying 6 meters backward through the air.
He hits the dirt, rolls, and immediately springs back to his feet.
Relentless.
Kaler manages to slip inside Garen's guard and punch him directly in the ribs, but the heat radiating from the armor is so intense, it literally sears through Kaler's hand wraps.
He's burning his own hands to punch him.
But he doesn't stop. He sprints straight toward Garen, uses Garen's massive thigh like a stepping stone.
Runs right up the side of the Titan.
Yes, and smashes his elbow downward into the jaw of the helm.
It's a strike with so much leverage force that it actually forces this giant to take a full, heavy step backward.
Jet, who has been critical the whole time, finally admits, all right, that was impressive.
Because for a baseline human, it borders on the impossible.
It really does.
But if we connect this to the underlying magical mechanics of the scene, Kaler is operating under a fatal misconception.
Oh, the battery thing.
Right. He is lasting 2 incredible minutes. He is using Garen's massive momentum against him, dodging blows and striking vulnerable joints.
Doing everything right, tactically.
But he fails to understand the feedback loop of the Demi-Titan bond.
Okay, explain this part because it's wild.
Every time Kaler lands a successful body shot, the red light shining through the volcanic cracks intensifies.
The ambient heat increases.
Nice.
Hold on, I want to make sure I fully understand this. If Kaler is hitting solid armor, how is that feeding the red light? Why does taking damage make Garen stronger?
It's this brilliant subversion of video game logic.
Okay.
In most scenarios, hitting a boss whittles down their health bar.
Right.
But Wrath is a titan fueled by aggression and kinetic conflict.
Ah, kinetic conflict.
The physical impact of Kaler's strikes the kinetic energy transferred into the armor. It acts as a catalyst.
It converts into thermal energy.
And magical resonance. Kaler realizes too late that he isn't wearing Garen down. He is acting as a kinetic battery.
Every successful strike he lands is literally charging up the monster he is fighting.
That is an unwinnable nightmare.
The better Kaler fights, the stronger and hotter Wrath becomes.
And the physical toll on Kaler is accumulating rapidly.
He is slowly, inevitably being beaten down by a force of nature.
His ribs are screaming with every breath.
One eye is swelling shut. He is physically folding under the crushing pressure.
At one point, Garen knees him in the chest and Kaler flies backward, hitting the stone ground so hard that his body physically bounces.
It's excruciating to read.
But he just keeps forcing himself back to his feet.
He's wobbling, bleeding from his nose and a split lip, but he stubbornly raises his hands again.
Which brings us to a profound psychological breaking point in the fight.
Okay, set the scene.
Inside Kaler, his Titan passenger, Babbles, has remained completely hidden up to this point.
Just totally dormant.
The narrator notes that Kaler's fixation burns brighter with every failure. He has a pathological need to understand the puzzle.
A need to continue. A need to win.
But Wrath decides to attack that very foundation. Wrath doesn't just want to break Kaler's body anymore.
He wants to shatter his ego.
Exactly.
The moment is so tense, Garen reaches out and effortlessly catches Kaler's incoming punch.
His massive, volcanic hand simply swallows Kaler's fist entirely.
He shoves Kaler backward. Wrath leans forward, the furnace heat rolling off his armor in waves, and his voice booms across the basin.
He says, "You have nothing worth fighting Wrath inside you." Oh, man.
He is dismissing Kaler's very soul.
He is calling him empty.
And that specific insult is the trigger.
The reaction is instantaneous and deeply unsettling.
Kaler stops breathing.
His arms drop limply to his sides.
The vibrant magenta light in his eyes just vanishes, and his eyes roll completely white.
His entire body goes rigid, locking up like a statue.
We are about to witness the birth of the Lock Titan.
And the transformation that follows is the complete antithesis of Garen's.
Yeah, when Garen transformed, you described it as an expansion of power, right? Armor bursting outward, heat, martial dominance.
It felt like a heroic escalation.
But Kaler's transformation is straight out of a body horror film. It is grotesque.
It lacks any semblance of glory.
The text specifically notes a sickening cracking sound beneath Kaler's skin and clarifies that it is not bone-breaking.
It is something much deeper, something foundational snapping.
Electric magenta light bursts violently through his chest, and Kaler lets out an agonizing scream.
But mid-scream, the voice fractures and changes.
His body violently expands to 16 feet tall, dwarfing even Garen.
But it's not smooth or symmetrical.
Thick layers of jagged magenta crystal explode over his shoulders in these chaotic, twisting arcs.
Black, inky energy pours into the spaces between the crystal fragments.
Let's do a deep dive into the physical description of this entity, Babbles.
We have to, because in this magic system, physical form perfectly mirrors psychological trauma.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, Babbles is a manifestation of a broken mind. He is highly asymmetrical.
One shoulder sits noticeably higher than the other, like a poorly healed break.
One forearm is covered in thick, spiraling plates winding inward, while the other arm is disturbingly lean, featuring long, spindly, overlapping joints.
The black channels moving beneath the crystal look like veins filled with poison.
And the most telling detail, its ribs curve inward.
Yeah, let's talk about those ribs, because they don't flare outward to create a barrel chest like Garen's do.
Not at all.
They curl inward, hooking backward to protectively cage a near-black, pulsating core in its chest.
Every line of Babel's body points inward.
Wow.
It is a visual representation of narrowing focus, of claustrophobia.
The text uses the word obsessing to describe the curvature.
It is an entity trying to curl into a fetal position while standing 16 feet tall.
That is such a striking image.
The face resembles Kaler's, but it's a sharper, younger, almost boyish version of him, totally devoid of any warmth.
And the eyes are massive, electric magenta with those black concentric spirals rotating constantly toward the pupils.
The onlookers are terrified.
Astreus is supposed to be the resident expert on Titan lore, right? And Sleek looks at him and asks what this is, fully expecting an answer.
And Ascraeus, looking completely unsettled, just says no.
He has no idea.
If the expert doesn't recognize it, they are in completely uncharted, dangerous territory.
But the true horror of the Lock-Titan bond isn't external. It's what is happening inside Kaler's mind during this process.
This is the defining characteristic that categorizes this entirely new type of bond.
Kaler doesn't black out.
His consciousness is not suppressed or overwritten at all.
He remains entirely awake. He feels the rough desert stone beneath his feet.
He sees his friends standing at the boundary line.
He can feel the blistering heat still radiating off Garen, but he has absolutely zero motor control.
None.
He tries to raise his hand to his face, and a massive crystal hand does move, but he realizes with creeping dread that it moved on its own.
He didn't command it.
He tries to open his mouth to say hello, but no voice leaves his lips.
The enormous crystal head tilts to the side, and Kaler tries to turn it back to face forward, but his muscles simply do not respond to his brain. It is a complete physiological hijacking.
The body has been commandeered, but the consciousness is left fully intact, trapped behind the eyes as a silent observer.
I was trying to articulate how deeply unsettling this is.
Let's hear it.
The best analogy I can come up with is sleep paralysis.
Oh, man. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, you wake up in the middle of the night, your eyes are open, you can see the shadows in your room, you can hear the air conditioner running.
You might even feel a heavy presence sitting on your chest.
But your brain has completely disconnected from your nervous system. You cannot move a single finger.
You are entirely trapped inside your own skull.
Now, amplify that. Imagine you are strapped into the passenger seat of a car.
Okay.
You can see the winding mountain road, you can see the cliff approaching fast, but there is a maniac behind the wheel who doesn't know how to drive.
That's terrifying.
And worse, you don't even have a phantom brake pedal to stomp on. You just have to sit there and watch the crash happen.
And the car just happens to be a 16-foot magenta crystal monster.
Exactly.
I have a question about this, though.
Shoot.
If Babbles chose Kaler as a host, why is a Bond designed this way?
What do you mean?
Well, if Kaler is this peerless combat genius, locking him in the passenger seat during a fight against a warlord seems like a terrible evolutionary survival strategy.
It does seem counterintuitive.
Why would Babbles paralyze his greatest asset?
You're assuming Babbles operates on logic or tactical efficiency.
He doesn't.
He doesn't. He operates on trauma and absolute control. Think back to the physical structure we talked about, the inward curving ribs protecting the core.
Right, hiding himself.
Babbles is defined by an obsessive need to guard himself from further hurt. By locking Kaler out of the motor functions, Babbles is ensuring absolute dictatorial control over the vessel.
He doesn't trust Kaler.
It's a trauma response, masquerading as a defense mechanism.
Wow.
He is a broken fragment of a mind that cannot fathom sharing the steering wheel, even if it means driving off the cliff.
That perfectly sets up the incredibly tense lore drop that happens next.
Oh, this conversation.
Because we finally get a conversation between these two giant entities.
The 16-foot Babbles looks down at Garen.
He opens his mouth, and a voice speaks that is entirely alien to Kaler.
It's young, strange, and deeply unsettling because it's layered.
The text says there are 4 different undertones fighting for dominance beneath a single spoken word.
And that word is wrath.
The reaction to that single word is explosive, both literally and figuratively.
Garen physically stiffens. The furnace light inside him blazes, and wrath erupts from within, roaring the name Babbles.
Astreus, listening from the sidelines through his own attunement to Titan energies, instantly recognizes the name and just pales.
Babbles smiles this eerie, boyish smile and says, "Come back."
Wrath answers through Garen's mouth with a definitive, ground-shaking "no."
Babbles tilts his head and says, "You belong with me. I need you."
And Wrath's response to that plea actually shakes the dust from the stone basin.
He roars, "You abandoned me."
The volcanic cracks on his armor flare blindingly bright. He yells, "You broke, you shattered."
This is the moment the narrative pulls the rug out from under us.
Completely.
These aren't just two members of the same magical species having a territorial dispute.
No.
They have the deeply personal, ancient, and tragic history.
They are intimately connected. The dialogue strongly implies that these titans might actually be fractured pieces of a single ancient consciousness.
Wrath's dialogue here is incredibly poetic in its tragedy.
He screams, "And you left me as this, anger without rest, fury without end."
When I read that, it broke my heart a little.
Me too. Imagine being a fragment of a god or a whole psyche, and when the mind shatters, you are the piece left holding only the emotion of rage.
Completely divorced from logic, compassion, or peace.
The narrator notes that even Garen, the stoic warlord, feels the profound grief hidden inside Wrath's rage.
It's a brilliant exploration of what happens when the mind fragments.
Yeah.
What's even more fascinating is Babbles' reaction.
Oh, this part is crazy.
When Wrath accuses him of abandonment, Babbles doesn't get defensive or angry.
He exhibits genuine confusion.
His layered voice drops and he says, "I didn't."
And when Wrath describes being left as anger without rest, Babel's massive crystalline eyes tighten and he whispers, "I was gone too. I need all of you."
That is the line that made me stop and reread the whole page. I need all of you.
It raises massive questions about Babel's mental state.
Does Babel suffer from memory loss?
Is he the core piece of this shattered psyche, desperately trying to glue himself back together piece by piece, completely failing to understand the immense trauma he caused the other fragments when he broke apart in the first place?
I think that's exactly what's happening. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of the story's lore, it perfectly explains Wrath's fierce, unyielding loyalty to Garen Crucible.
How so?
Babbles looks at Wrath and says, "You are me." And Wrath immediately replies, "Not anymore."
Babels wants to drag Wrath backward in time, back into a broken, fragmented, asymmetrical past to be reabsorbed.
But Wrath refuses. He says, "I have Garen. He chose me."
The contrast is amazing. Wrath has found a healthy, symbiotic relationship with the human host.
Garen tempers Wrath's endless fury with patience and tactical wisdom, and in return, Wrath gives Garen immense power.
Wrath has found purpose. He has found a partnership.
He absolutely refuses to go back to being a prisoner inside Babel's obsessive, claustrophobic mind.
Astreus confirms the gravity of the situation to Sleek on the sidelines, whispering, "It is him. Babels has returned."
There is absolute existential terror in that realization.
But before the officers can even process the lore implications of this ancient threat returning, Babel's obsession overrides any further conversation and he violently attacks.
Which brings us to the actual combat phase of this Titan clash.
Finally.
You have a 16-foot crystal monstrosity with reality-bending power charging at a 15-foot volcanic siege engine.
You naturally expect a cataclysmic clash that levels the surrounding mountains.
But what actually happens is a humiliating, one-sided slaughter.
And it's not because of a lack of raw power.
No, it is entirely because of technique.
It is the ultimate masterclass in why synergy will always triumph over raw potential.
The mechanics of this defeat perfectly illustrate the contrast in their magical bonds.
Babels throws an enormous, wildly telegraphed punch aimed at Garen's head.
Garen doesn't even block. He simply takes a calculated half-step to the side.
Babel's fist misses by nearly a full meter, striking nothing but air.
Jek, watching from above, actually deadpans. He's terrible at fighting.
Caro tries to defend the spectacle, saying he is still a Titan.
But Jet just shakes his head and says, "I know."
It would be comical if it wasn't so terrifying.
Babels recovers and swings again. A massive sweeping arc.
Garen effortlessly steps inside the guard of the strike, closing the distance before the arm can build momentum, and hammers his volcanic fist directly into Babel's inward curving ribs.
The impact cracks the magenta crystal, lifting the 16-foot entity completely off the ground and throwing him backward through a stone outcrop.
We have to break down the biomechanics of a giant body piloted by a human mind versus an unpiloted, wild Titan mind.
Garen and Wrath have achieved true synergy. It's a demi-Titan bond.
Right.
They do not take turns driving the car. They are both in the driver's seat, operating simultaneously.
Wrath provides the superhuman attributes. The raw strength, the volcanic armor, the thermal energy, the endless Titan endurance.
But Garen provides the neurological hardware.
Right.
He brings decades of battlefield experience, flawless footwork, timing, balance, and spatial awareness.
And Babels has literally none of that.
Babels has immense, chaotic, reality-warping magical power, but zero combat experience.
He fights like a toddler throwing a tantrum, just swinging his arms.
And the true tragedy is that Kaler, the actual combat genius, the prodigy who can adapt to any fighting style in seconds, is locked away in the passenger seat.
The text explicitly shows us Kaler's internal, panicked monologue.
He is desperately screaming instructions inside his own mind.
He sees Garen shifting his weight, winding up for a counter, and Kaler mentally yells, "Move left."
But Babels doesn't hear him, and instead lunges right.
Garen brutally punishes the mistake.
Kaler yells, "No, no, you're telegraphing your shoulder."
But Babels cannot hear the coach. The disconnection is absolute.
And Garen's tactical mind exploits that disconnection ruthlessly.
He systematically dismantles a superior physical force using nothing but leverage and timing.
Babels throws a heavy downward blow. Garen steps aside, catches the wrist, pivots his hips, and lets Babel's own massive momentum carry him forward.
Simultaneously kicking the back of Babel's knee to fold his posture.
It's Aikido on a kaiju scale.
I want to walk through the final, brutal finishing maneuver in slow motion because the physics of it are incredibly calculated.
Let's do it.
Babels, infuriated by his inability to land a hit, roars and swings both arms wildly in a double clothesline attempt.
It's a massive overcommitment of weight.
Garen sees it coming a mile away. He ducks completely beneath the swinging arms and takes a deep step behind Babbles.
Kaler, trapped in his own mind, analyzes Garen's footwork and realizes what is about to happen a full second before Babbles does.
Kaler's internal voice just thinks, leg.
The leverage utilized here is perfect. Garen hooks his massive volcanic arm around Babbles' upper torso, locking the upper body in place.
Simultaneously, Garen plants his thick, immovable foot firmly behind Babbles' knee joint.
He has created a fulcrum and a lever.
Kaler is internally screaming at Babbles to move, to shift his weight, to yield to the pressure.
But Babbles doesn't understand leverage. He tries to fight the pressure, stiffening his leg.
The synergy of Garen and Wrath executes the takedown flawlessly.
Wrath supplies the devastating hydraulic force.
Garen supplies the flawless structural technique.
He twists the upper body backward while blocking the knee from moving backward.
The leg is forced to go one direction. The enormous torso is forced to go the other.
The torque required to snap a crystalline Titan leg is immense, but with the correct leverage, it snaps like dry wood.
Crack! The sound of the 16-foot crystal joint shattering echoes like a gunshot across the entire desert basin.
Babbles lets out a horrific scream.
And in that precise moment, the sensory barrier that was protecting Kaler's mind violently drops.
Kaler feels the blinding white absolute agony of his leg being snapped backward.
He screams in unison with the Titan inside the shared body, and the massive magenta monstrosity collapses to the stone ground.
The fight is instantly over.
Wrath stands over the broken entity, steam rolling off his shoulders, and simply rumbles, "Go!"
Babbles, writhing on the ground filled with a toxic mixture of rage, fear, and profound humiliation, spits out, "I'll come back for you."
And Wrath, entirely unbothered, just answers, "Try."
Babbles' form destabilizes.
Yes.
The jagged crystal dissolves into spiraling black and magenta light, rapidly shrinking back down to human size.
When the light fades, Kaler is left lying on the hard stone, conscious, fully human, and screaming in agony as he clutches a severely broken leg.
It is such a heavy, abrupt end to the violence.
The dust settles, and we transition out of the chaotic battlefield and into the quiet, clinical atmosphere of the medical tent.
This scene serves as a crucial debrief, not just for the characters, but for us as readers trying to put a taxonomy to the madness we just witnessed.
Kaler is lying on a cot, his broken leg being stabilized and splinted by Lyra the medic.
Garen has seamlessly reverted to his human form.
He looks completely unbothered, leaning against a tent pole, calmly noting that the Titan inside him, Wrath, is currently insufferably pleased with himself.
Sleek, Astraeus, Mira, and Cairo all gathered tightly around Kaler's cot to interrogate him about what exactly just happened out there.
This debrief conversation is vital because it formally establishes and categorizes the magic system rules regarding Titan bonds.
The author uses this moment to clearly delineate the boundaries of what is known, in order to highlight how terrifying the unknown is.
Kaler explains his internal experience during the transformation, how he remained fully conscious, how he could see and hear everything with perfect clarity, but how he was completely stripped of motor function and voice.
He describes the horror of sitting trapped behind his own eyes.
Right, and as he explains this, you see Astraeus and Mira exchange deeply concerned looks.
They immediately confirm that this is absolutely not how their Titan bonds function.
They lay out the categories of bonds as they understand them.
First, you have the operator Titan bond.
This is what Sleek and Astraeus have, or Mira and Nithra.
In this traditional bond, the Titan and the human operator stand side by side as two completely distinct, separate physical entities.
They share a mental link, they can communicate telepathically, but they act independently and simultaneously on the battlefield.
Exactly. Then, they define the second category, the Demi-Titan bond.
This is the rare symbiosis demonstrated by Garen and Wrath.
In this state, they merge into a single, shared, physical, transformed body, the 15-foot volcanic giant.
But crucially, both consciousnesses remain present, awake, and actively contributing.
They communicate constantly. Garen, the tactical mind, makes the overarching decisions and directs the movement, while Wrath provides the magical input, the heat, and the physical power.
It's a true partnership sharing one steering wheel.
But then Cairo, piecing the clues together, names the third, entirely new category that Kaler just experienced.
The Lock Titan.
It is a structure nobody has ever seen before. One body, two distinct consciousnesses, but a rigid, locked position.
Whichever consciousness is not currently in control of the physical body is completely and utterly locked out of the motor functions.
It's a binary either-or state.
If Babbles is driving, Kaler is paralyzed.
If Kaler is driving, Babbles is presumably locked away in the dark.
When the characters fully realize the implications of this new bond structure, a chill settles over the tent.
Because Babbles didn't just return from ancient history.
This fragmented, traumatized entity created an entirely new emotional and magical structure.
He actively selected a specific human host, and he invented a brand new form of Titan bond to enforce his control.
The officers are left in stunned silence.
The terrifying implication hangs in the air.
If Babbles is just a fragment of a shattered whole and he possesses the power to rewrite the rules of reality, to invent new magical bonds,
What happens if he manages to gather more of his missing fragments?
what else is a desperate, obsessive mind capable of mutating?
Which perfectly transitions us into the final sequence of the text, and arguably the most disturbing part of the entire narrative.
The psychological aftermath for Kaler himself.
The physical broken leg will heal, but the shift in his mind is deeply alarming.
Garen approaches Kaler's cot before leaving the tent. They share a quiet moment of mutual respect.
Garen extends his fist, and Kaler, grimacing through the pain, slowly raises his own to bump knuckles.
Garen sincerely thanks him to the match, acknowledging Kaler's skill.
And Kaler looks at him and says, "Thank you for beating me."
Garen is visibly surprised by that response, noting that it's an unusual thing for a fiercely competitive prodigy to say.
But the narrator immediately zooms in on Kaler's internal state, and we see that Kaler isn't being humble.
We witness a fundamental, toxic psychological shift.
The narration explicitly tells us that before Babbles bonded with him, losing a fight was just information to Kaler.
It was an opportunity, a puzzle he hadn't solved yet.
It was clean data on a spreadsheet telling him how to adjust his footwork for the next tournament.
But now, after experiencing the lock Titan state,
The text says the defeat scratches at his mind.
it won't leave him alone. It gnaws at him.
Garen beat him clearly, cleanly, and completely, and Kaler's brain is refusing to process it as mere data anymore.
He looks Garen in the eye and immediately asks for a rematch the second his leg heals.
And the detail he adds to that request is what truly concerns the medical staff.
He doesn't just want a rematch to prove he can win.
He specifically asks Garen to teach him the exact, devastating leg trap maneuver that just snapped his bones.
Lyra, the medic currently splinting that shattered leg, looks at him like he has lost his mind.
But Kaler's eyes are burning with intensity as he says, "That is precisely why I need to learn it."
He is zeroing in on his trauma with laser focus.
It's a dark, tragic irony. Kaler is unconsciously adopting his Titan's most toxic traits.
Earlier, Babbles told Kaler his true name was Obsession.
Astreus noted that this was likely a lie, a moniker chosen by a fragmented mind, but functionally it might as well be true.
Kaler's a previously healthy desire for self-improvement and martial mastery is curdling in real time into an unhealthy, gnawing obsession to eradicate his weakness and completely conquer the warlord who humiliated him.
He is becoming infected by the very entity locking him in a cage.
But the psychological bleed effect goes both ways, and this is where the author pulls off a brilliant inversion.
While Kaler, the human, is becoming more like Babbles, more obsessive, more fixated, more aggressive, deep inside the locked vault of Kaler's mind, Babbles is experiencing something entirely alien to an ancient Titan.
He is feeling a very vulnerable, very human emotion.
Fear.
Exactly. Babbles feels Kaler's intense obsession attaching to Garen Crucible like a fishhook.
Given Babbles' nature, he should be pleased by that.
He should be thrilled that his human host wants to destroy the entity that humiliated them.
But instead, Babbles retreats into the dark.
Babbles remembers the oppressive, crushing heat of the black volcanic armor.
He remembers the sheer terror of wrath refusing to be reabsorbed.
He remembers the effortless, terrifying ease with which Garen stepped around his massive strikes, applied leverage, and snapped his 16-foot leg like a twig.
Kaler's lying on the cot, his mind buzzing, thinking, "We'll beat him next time."
And Babbles, who was so arrogant, so demanding, and so loud earlier in the day, remains completely silent.
He looks at the memory of Warlord Garen Crucible, and he cowers in the dark.
It is a profound role reversal.
The human mind is eagerly embracing the Titan's obsessive aggression, while the ancient, godlike Titan entity is suddenly paralyzed by the very human experience of trauma, humiliation, and the acute fear of a superior predator.
It's a cautionary tale about the things we allow to drive us and the hidden costs of obsession.
So true.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Great question.
When I read that final scene in the medical tent, it really forced me to reflect on how we process our own failures in life.
Same here.
Think about it for a second. When you fail at something deeply important to you, when you lose out on a major promotion or completely blow a critical presentation or lose a debate you prepared weeks for, how does that failure sit inside your mind?
Are you like the old Kaler? Do you treat failure purely as data?
Is it just objective information telling you how to adjust your strategy, update your resume, and try again tomorrow?
Or does it scratch?
Does it become an unhealthy obsession that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., replaying the moment over and over in your head, demanding that you correct the record at any cost?
There is an incredibly fine line between dedication to a craft and toxic obsession, and Kaler Voss just sprinted right across it, hand in hand with a monster.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the Lock Titan, we have to step back and appreciate the sheer narrative scale of the journey the author just took us on.
We started in a dusty basin with what appeared to be a polite, high-speed human sparring match, a simple test of footwork and sporting form.
And then, seamlessly, it escalated into a profound clash of martial philosophies.
We explored the deep psychological gap between the pristine champion who expects his opponents to follow the rules of engagement and the battle-scarred warlord who only understands the brutal physics of survival.
Which then literally exploded into a cataclysmic battle between supernatural giants.
We witnessed a 15-foot volcanic siege engine, powered by the righteous synergy of a human mind and a titan's power, systematically dismantling a 16-foot crystal monstrosity that was hopelessly hobbled by its own disjointed, locked, and traumatized nature.
And we ended in a quiet medical tent, unearthing profound lore revelations about ancient, fragmented psyches, shared trauma, and the terrifying introduction of the completely unprecedented Lock-Titan bond.
It truly is a masterclass in escalating narrative tension, while simultaneously building out a complex, rule-based magic system.
I want to leave you with a chilling thought to mull over as we conclude today. A speculation that hangs heavy over that final, silent interaction between Kaler and Babbles.
Oh, this is a scary one.
Throughout that entire final fight, Babbles and Kaler were fundamentally disconnected.
Babbles had access to immense, reality-bending physical power, but possessed absolutely no tactical skill.
Kaler possessed peerless combat genius and adaptability, but was completely locked out of the motor functions, trapped in a paralyzed body.
That total disconnection is the only reason they suffered such a humiliating defeat at the hands of Garen.
But what happens if they eventually figure it out?
What happens if Kaler and Babbles eventually learn to unlock the Lock Titan state?
If Kaler's brilliant tactical mind, his hyper-adaptability, and his newly ignited burning obsession ever managed to gain full, synchronized control over Babel's 16-foot reality-warping physical power,
Who or what in this universe could possibly stop them?
that is a genuinely terrifying prospect.
Because suddenly this narrative isn't just a story about a fight in a desert.
It's the origin story of an unstoppable apex predator.
A horrifying thought to end on.
Well, thank you for joining us on this incredibly immersive narrative journey. Keep asking questions, keep reading the text closely to find the hidden mechanics beneath the action, and we will see you next time the stack of sources arrives.